Ready. Good evening, listeners. This is Best Radio. It's Tuesday evening and it's 6 p.m. time. This is a spiritual discussion program. I'm in South Islam. I'm hearing echo again. Let me see if I can cancel the echo. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. But I'm still getting an echo. All right. So, yes, this is a spiritual discussion program. I'm Saad in Southeast London in Bromley. And the weather here is, well, it's very cold and dark at the moment. It was bright and sunny this morning, no clouds. Then slowly, some clouds came. And with me, as you
Fine. What are you?
good. The spiritual discussion program is to introduce you to the spiritual phase and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. Seeking and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. And again, I'm getting echo. I'm going to, yes, and if you're out of the UK, and if you have any questions, you can contact us again at the UK number, which is 0044 79 39 649 958. I'm going to begin the message by up is a spiritual knowledge of explanation of stuff, a picture of creation on the base contain and closer to life and led back to God. The GRAIL message deals with fundamental by explaining in clear and the automatic, the laws of nature, the whole creation, allowing the process to recognize and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining matter-of-fact reasoning is where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the GRAIL message, Abdul Shane. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the GRAIL message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the GRAIL message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic we are discussing tonight is seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 0739 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as you know, I like to look in the dictionary for the topic for each time, the words in the topic. And so just to remind everybody again, the topic we're having tonight is seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life. So the first word there is seeking. And in the dictionary I found this: attempt to find, in brackets, something. It says attempt or desire to obtain or achieve, again in brackets, something. And the last one, it says ask for something or from someone. So, Gregory, in this of our tonight, seeking and understanding the knowledge of life, is seeking, as discussed in different attempt to find, or how to obtain, to achieve, or achieve, is that a good definition?
Could you repeat precisely what you just said?
Yes, I'm saying the meaning of the word seek, or seeking I should say, actually, as given in the dictionary, which I said attempt to find something, or attempt or desire to obtain or achieve something. Is that a good definition for our discussion for tonight?
As you have in many cases, dictionary definitions are only partial. They do not give, or very rarely do they give, a holistic picture. And sometimes the pictures they give are full enough. The word itself, seeking, conjures a picture of search.
Yes.
Making a lot of effort to search.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I think that's good. The word search, I'm surprised they didn't put that in that dictionary. But yes, it gives a very good, because a synonym for the word seek or seeking. Okay, so let me continue. The next keyword in the, again, I just remind everybody the topic: seeking and understanding the knowledge of life. So the next keyword is understanding And again, in the dictionary, it says the ability to understand something, comprehension. And let me ask you on that one. There's a second meaning as well. Let's start with that one, Gregory. The ability to understand something or comprehension.
Comprehension is another word which needs to be explained, to be made simpler, if possible. So unless one understands what comprehension is, then it becomes somehow difficult. But in place of comprehension or understanding, one may also say some awareness on how things function.
Thank you for that. I'm just making a note of what you said there. Awareness on how things function.
Yes.
So yes, as we proceed, we will take it in that way as we proceed in our discussion. So, and to continue, the next word is, aright, actually. I didn't actually look that up in the dictionary, but I think it's common sense, that one. Aright, understand correctly, I would say. If I use that word correctly, Gregory, is that right, just in definition of aright?
Well, approximately, but you can go ahead.
Okay. That wasn't in the dictionary, I just made it up for myself. And then knowledge. It says facts, information, and skills acquired through experience or education. There's more there, but I don't want to make it too long. So the meaning of the word knowledge in the dictionary says facts, information, and skills acquired through experience or education. So how's that for our discussion, the meaning of knowledge there?
Well, again, this has just been expressed of knowledge must be broken down further, not with complexity as has just been discussed. So one cannot talk of knowledge just like that. It must be knowledge about something. It must be knowledge of something. Very clearly, there must be an idea of functionality of something, how it functions, and why it functions. The how and the why, or the when, that itself is what knowledge appertains to.
Thank you for that. So the knowledge is about how it functions, about something, how it functions, and we need to know how, of course, how it is, and why. This is how we'll again proceed in our. And the last word is that we can't have knowledge on its own. We need a knowledge of something, about something. In the dictionary, the meaning of life is given the condition distinguishes animals
Saad.
We are back. Yep. Now, please continue. So we're going to talking about the meaning of life that I gave.
Yes, I'm just waiting for things to stabilize a bit.
Yes. Apologies, listeners. There seems to be some technical issue. We seem to have dropped out of the radio broadcast. I think we're back now. So we just wanted to stabilize, as Gregory said. Just to catch up again, Gregory, I just want to repeat the word life, I was saying, in the dictionary. It says the condition that distinguishes human beings, animals, and plant, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. So,
again, you find these expressions what the dictionary regarded to, one will not say define, but to describe, for that's the best it can do. Whereas when life itself is mentioned, what strikes the person is power. That Zeus' power may be considered as life. However, this power is expressed not in an arbitrary manner, but in an order, which order deals with the rules through which this life operates. Therefore, one may also say that with power is attached the rules or the laws of the propagation of this power. But the question is, this power has its effect on substances. Therefore, when power or life is concerned, there are three areas that one may consider. So for life, one may talk about the power, the substances, which one may refer to as the radiation, and the laws for propagation necessary for this power. So these three areas, when combined, one may therefore talk of life.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. How can I say, widens our concept of what is life. And of course, the dictionary definition was really, I could say, a very earthly meaning, and quite limited, you can say. But what you have just said there, it's such a, I could say, wide. Word wider is not even covering it, but it's wider than what we had in the dictionary, for sure. But it really is incredibly, a bigger concept there of life. Saying that it's a power where, for, let's say, works with rules or laws and affects substances. So it's quite, we'll have to, we will explore that of course, much more in our discussion. So I just want to take it in as what you have said there. Now, so just to remind everybody, the topic we're discussing again is seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life. Now, many times we talk about nature in our discussions. So, is that knowledge of life is it seeking and understanding nature?
Just as we just discussed regarding substances or radiation. Of radiation of substantiality, which, because of its specialty, has its own rule. These rules are referred to as the laws of nature. So the laws of nature applies to that substantiality which has now been categorized as nature.
Right. So what I'm getting from that is that nature is a part of, or an aspect of, let's say, life, rather than just life, as we might.
No, one did not say nature is an aspect of life. One is stressing that nature, that container which is referred to as nature, is part of substantiality, is part of that radiation substantiality, which has its rules, which rules for its operations is now referred to as the laws of nature. However, it is power that activates this nature. It is power that activates the processes and the objects in nature.
Right. Thank you for that correction. Just to say again, Gregory, it seems when you begin, I know it's not your voice, but what is I hear, it's a very low, the volume, and then continue, we can hear you like loud and clear. So somehow, I don't know why it happens this way, but that's what's been happening, just so you're aware. We will just continue and hope people can hear you, as we continue the discussion. So again, I don't apologize, listen, why I can't say why these things are happening right now. I'm glad the echo is not there, or at least it's in the background. Okay. So, Gregory, you're saying seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life, and life is power. So, knowledge of life we are seeking, and I'm trying to understand. I would say with human beings, Gregory, we are always inquisitive and wanting to know this or that, and so you could feel that we are like already inherently seeking, questions, answers to questions of life, you can say. And now, is that meant to be like a trial and error? Or is it like guidance that we are meant?
When you use the expression trial and error, that in itself calls for an activity. That means there is the examination. The examination of processes. How does one know that the process itself is right, and then separate it which may not be right, which is now said to the personality who does the examination must, deep within itself, must a sense of what a proper reference which has always been there, that reference which one may call the intrinsic of creation, which laws of creation made it possible in the first instance into existence.
Thank you for that, Secretary. I'm just thinking about that. So, yes, the trial and error is not. Let me just. Okay, we are back. And still there's an echo. I'll just see if I can get back again. Okay. Can you hear me? Just this. Okay, you just on mute just to check. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I hope this is clear now.
Yes, it is.
I've heard some listener, the reception is poor and there's an echo. The echo which we I will get to the bottom of not actually done something just yet, so apologies again for that. So okay. As I was saying, Gregory, trial and error, it's not really a spiritual way of how life actually works. We use these words and think that's, how can I say, we make up these things, this is how it is. But actually, if we had trial and error, things okay, we're getting a lot of feedback here. Okay, it's better now. Definitely it's better now. Thank you. So, Gregory, I didn't quite, I want to ask something which I don't know if you did answer in your last question. I said, do we follow trial and error? Do we learn through trial and error or guidance? And I don't know what you said about guidance, if you said anything about guidance. If we follow guidance.
The guidance which you yourself just mentioned is part of the intrinsic laws which one is referring to. It is the laws of nature, of creation, that guides. So that is part of the reference which was referred to For if there were no laws, then there will be no guidance.
Thank you. Yes, now it's making sense now, Gregory, because you can see again there's a framework, and we need to become aware of the framework, so that everything falls into place and there is a context. So now we can see, yes, this is how the guidance comes, and this is how we have come. So we'll go on further in this discussion to discover that. This radio, it's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program, and the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL message by Aprushing. If you are interested in knowing more about the GRAIL message or want to get a copy of the GRAIL message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And as I said, we're broadcasting. This is Bless Radio, and we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number one, space, live stream. That's for the live show. And you can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space, GRAIL message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows, recording of the previous shows, also on YouTube. Third, Oh, it's suddenly come back. Yeah. Okay. Hello, listeners. Apologies. Hopefully can hear. Currently, the echo is happening from my side. Not quite sure how it's happening, but I can still hear me. Frankly, I'm reflecting on the second, seeking understanding around the knowledge of, and we've talked about, you could say, life of power is, I've forgotten how to say it, which is propagating, it's not really the right word. I don't know how to say it, but power that bringing people up to being putting that concept is not made. So can you give the relationship in power that you have to?
Sorry, could you be precise? Because
Yes.
those
Okay. What I'm going to ask, I know you mentioned it earlier, but can you give us the relationship between power?
one factor that when life is mentioned, it is an expression. The impression of life must be considered when it is discussed. The laws that guide that path must be discussed, and the effect of power on the substances that must be discussed also. So when life is mentioned, there are three parts. Of radiations of power, which is substantiality of substances, and of the rules which govern the operation of what must be considered whenever life is discussed.
Thank you for that. And so, working from what you have said there, you know, we human beings, are we not living then? Are we an effect of the life, of power through life? Are we an effect, an after, I don't even know how to say it. Are we, an after effect of the existence of power in life?
A spark, a minuscule spark of that which one refers to as power is what animates the human personality, or looked at from the outside, what animates the human body. The human body did not come into existence in an arbitrary manner. Therefore, there must have been rules through which the human body all the human being itself came into existence. Just as there are rules, and one has talked about a spark of that power animates substances. That substantiality, in the case of the human being here on earth, is what one refers to as the human body. So there are substances. There are the rules through which these substances will unite to be able to carry out some functionality. However, for these functionalities to be done accordingly, it is the power that activates it. A very simple example. Here we are in our discussion. In our discussions, one can already testify that it is the human being or the human body that makes the statements. That human body one must refer to as a substance. However, in order for that human body to operate appropriately, there are rules through which it must follow. However, what activates the human body? There must be some power, although a different category of power, a spark that is necessary, that animates the human body. That is why we are able to move. For motion, motion is a law in creation. And because motion is a law in creation, motion requires power to animate it. Else, there will be no motion. And because all that exists is in motion, power is required. Because all that exists is in motion and is not arbitrary, there must be laws that help in the activation. Because power exists only or manifests in motion, there must be substances. Which substances? The example one just gave is that of the physical body. That is what many see on the outside. On the inside, that which is intrinsic, the inner core of man, that is of spirit. That spirit is always in motion, and it requires power for it to move, to ensure it's able to accomplish things. Of course, that which one refers to as spirit has a body, a spiritual body. So whenever one looks and say one has life, it means there is power that activates some substances in accordance with the respective laws. If it is in nature, one talks about the laws of nature. If it is in creation, one refers to the laws of creation. So the triad, it is that triad that makes that makes life itself.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. I think slowly we are getting the clarity to get this picture of what is life. And one thing I'm seeing there also is, as you've mentioned a few times, there are the rules of how everything operates, or the laws within everything, within the world, how the world operates within these laws. So I would say the first knowledge that we seek would be to know about these laws. And you mentioned the law of motion there. Are there other laws as well?
When one refers to the law of motion, that is the intrinsic law. Motion itself expresses itself very basically. There is the motion where the beginning or the end of the motion flows back to the beginning. Whenever you have the end flowing back to the beginning, that is small, what many will refer to as a reciprocal activity. At the same time, when one considers that the end flows back to the beginning, there must have been some form of attraction for the end to flow back to the beginning. Again, from that basic observation, one may talk about an attraction that only comes into being in the attraction of similar types, of homogeneous types. Therefore, one may safely say that from motion alone, that motion in which the end flows back to the beginning, two intrinsic, basic concepts or laws have arisen. That of reciprocal action and that of the attraction of homogeneous species. The other aspect of motion in which the end does not flow back to the beginning, that one may safely refer to as that of gravitation. For wherever the end doesn't flow back to the beginning, then you yourself will observe that the pressure that has arisen from out of motion has expressed itself such that one aspect is denser than the other aspect. More of this, many who have that longing to seek for the laws of nature, the laws of creation, many may seek in the work, in the light of truth, the GRAIL message of Abrushin. There, the explanations are perfect.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for that answer. And, again, we are going deeper into this, you could say, this world that we live in, how it works, and you mentioned before functionality, how we function, how others function, or how this world functions. And again, we're getting a picture of that now, that there are these laws of nature, which you could say we sort of are unconsciously aware, or we take them for granted. But if we are saying we are seeking an understanding aright, this knowledge of life, we need to really dig in to know what these laws are, the natural laws are. The other aspect is, Gregory, you said more functionality. So you could ask, let's start with us, I think. What is the function of the human being, Gregory? Let's do that first.
When that question arises, one must have some initial clarity. First, by looking at the human personality, starting as a child, and then growing to the extent it gets to adulthood. At the initial stages, the human personality as a child needs that imitative instinct to see what is happening, to be aware of what is happening, and learn to imitate what is happening externally. Subsequently, when it gets to adulthood, in its full power, is able to internalize that which it has been imitating. If what it has been imitating are in accordance with the laws of nature, of creation, through which it itself came into existence, then it will internalize this and becomes a useful tool in the furtherance, in the help of others who are just starting. For when people are starting to learn a language, initially they are not aware of how this language is assembled and subsequently used. So that is what you have at the beginning. But subsequently, when they have learned to use this language rightly, then in that case, they do not learn anymore as such, because they know how to use the language. And in using the language aright, they are able to further, to be of assistance to others who, like him, when much younger, had to learn the structure of the language and the way the language is composed. The language which is referred to in this case is the language of nature, of creation. So the intrinsic functionality of the human personality is to strive to learn first the structure the way creation has been arranged, the way nature has been arranged, and when it has perfected it, it is then able to assist others who, like him, had started from that state of the lack of awareness to the awareness. And after becoming aware, and this awareness touches on the self, that means touches of the spirit. It means they are now intuitively matured to be able to weave, to be able to support the processes in nature, in creation. That is the functionality of man.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for that answer, explanation, and picture you've painted. Yet again, we are now getting the, this understanding of who we are as human beings and our function, and even you could say the story of, you could say, of our development as human beings. So, we know on the earth, what I'm seeing from what you've said is that, we're learning a language, and language of knowing these laws of nature, adapting ourselves to those laws, and but then when we think like about our earth life, we start as a child or baby, turn into a child, and then to an adult, and so on. And all these are stages and steps in our journey of life as a human being. But that's basically on the earth, and yet there's more to it when we think, of how we came onto the earth, and where do we go after death. So there's so many, you could say, questions, and yet there is an order, as you mentioned already, and once we get the story, everything starts falling into place. So I want to actually, before I go into explore that further, I just want to remind the listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL Message by Abdrusheen. And if you're interested in knowing more about the GRAIL Message or want to get a copy of the GRAIL Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is seeking and understanding aright the knowledge of life. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1,
space live stream. That's for the live show. You can also listen to the recording of this show the next day. Again, go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space GRAIL Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is Seeking and Understanding Aright, the knowledge of life. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number 1. Yes. So Gregory, as we go deeper into this, understanding that there are the laws of nature, and there's this, you can say, our purpose or our goal as human beings, which is to develop ourselves and learning this language of nature, the laws of nature. Now, Gregory, and looking at our earth life, which is only part of our life, but if you look at that, Gregory, let's say we make, I'm saying how we live this life on the earth, it hasn't been so great, really. We've made a lot of mistakes and even harmed this earth that we are living on, and harmed fellow human beings, well, and many, many things. So somehow, Gregory, we are not getting it right when we say seeking and understanding the knowledge of life. So somewhere, something has gone astray. Now, how can that happen if we have all this, you could say, help around us?
Sorry, could you repeat that question, because there was a breakage?
Okay. I'm just saying that on the earth, we human beings seem to have got things wrong, things have gone astray. And we've mentioned the laws, there's an order there in nature, and we're supposed to learn this language, of the laws of nature, but somehow we've gone astray on the earth. So I'm just wondering, how can that be?
Well, if we hadn't gone astray, then things will be more in a balanced fashion than we have right now. That there is no balance, and there is so much evil and strife, shows that there are problems. And all because that language which needs to be learned has not been learned properly. So how did it come about? Very basically, indolence. Because of the simplicity of these laws, many a time, so many people take things for granted and violate that which they themselves neglect. And on the other hand, some refuse to do anything. They focus only on that which is earthly, forgetting that that which belongs to the earth will end up here on earth, but they themselves, whose origin is on high, will have to return to on high, either consciously or revert back to as unconscious spirit germs.
Thank you for that, Gregory. That really, how can I say, explains what is happening to us, human beings. We are, like you say, not keeping a balance and not applying, or not really learning this language of the laws of nature. So obviously that is, leading us astray, you can say. There's one thing Gregory mentioned about, you could say, evil there, and I got a bit confused with regard to balance. Is there meant to be some balance between good and evil, or can you explain that?
Good, like many say, and then evil, as others may claim. These are different things. That which is good swings unconditionally in the laws of creation, which enables the human personality first to come into existence, even as an unconscious spirit germ, and has permitted the unconscious spirit germ to move out of its origin in order to experience and to grow, to become aware, that is, to be conscious, and subsequently to become self-conscious. That is, the spirit itself is now fully aware of its tasks that it needs to fulfill in accordance with the laws through which it came into existence. That it is in itself is whatever obstructs this fulfillment, such that is unable to follow the paths which have been hewn out for it, whatever becomes an obstruction to this ensures that the efforts which has been put in place to hew out these paths, that effort has been in vain, because the human personality or the human spirit germ is unable to grow, to mature, and to go back home as a self-conscious spirit germ. Means that effort which has been put in place has been evil. That in itself, one cannot call good. That in itself, which obstructs and prevents the human personality from growing in accordance with the laws of creation, that in itself is not good. And therefore, one may refer to it as being evil, for it lacks the love, which love was permitted these paths to be hewn out so as to fulfill the intrinsic urge of the unconscious spirit germs which needed to leave paradise in order to experience. So one cannot classify such obstructions which prevents, which makes it impossible for the human spirit to experience and grow, one cannot call such experiences good. So they are not good.
Thank you for this answer there, Gregory. What I'm thinking, in nature, we see, some seeds, flourish and turn into plants and, bear fruit, and some don't. And similarly with the animal kingdom, some animals, let's say, become the leaders or kings, or what I mean by that is some are more successful than others in either finding mates or, just being skillful in how they successfully live their life. So I'm wondering with the human beings, is there all, we started, as you said, with as an unconscious spirit germ or seed, and the aim is to become a mature, conscious human being. And maybe what I'm wondering, Gregory, some have the potential to achieve it. Well, not potential, they all have the potential to achieve it, but some succeed and others don't succeed. And is that just part of nature, that just like the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, that human beings, it's like you have I just give this as a, how can I say, just for the to paint a picture. If you have 1 million seeds or 1 million human.
So can we make it brief so that
I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. What I'm basically saying is, if you look at the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, not every seed turns into a successful, you could say, fruit-bearing tree, or not every animal is always successful in their, moving in their progress, in their life. So is this the same with human being also?
The category, or the categories you just mentioned, that of the plants and that of the animals, those categories do not have the intrinsic free will which the human spirit germ is granted. For him to whom much is granted, in all naturalness, much is expected. Therefore, what has happened is how these human spirit germs developing into human personalities, how they themselves have used these intrinsic gifts of the free will to mature. That is what explains why some are able to make progress and others are unable to make progress. For the species referred to as the human species have been granted the free will, whereas the ones you mentioned, that of the plants or that of the animals, do not have deep within them the free will, because they are of a different species, not capable of having that which is referred to as the free will.
Thank you for this answer there, Gregory. We know that there are human beings of different maturity and ability. Let me paint a picture first. So, we get, let's say if you look at examples on Earth, some people are excelling in their I was going to use the word trade, but what I mean is their talent. And, you know, say somebody's master in playing the violin, let's just pick one example like that, and you will know that not every human being who does train to play the violin will become a master. And this can apply to any, you could say, profession or talent or trade. So I'm wondering, Gregory, I know there's a free will, but is it all equal, the talent, is it equal as well? The free will is for everyone, every human being has a free will, but do they have equal talent to develop to the maximum, you know, become a master? Sorry.
The talents which had been imbued into the human spirit, which the human spirit need to cultivate, these talents are the virtues. What you yourself just mentioned in the case of the vow, this is expressed in how a particular talent is used, or how a particular talent manifests in the learning on how to play the violin. The same thing happens in music, the same thing happens in farming, the same thing happens in the so-called science. It is how these virtues have been cultivated, the stage of cultivation of these virtues is also taken into account. So, in one instance of an earth life, someone might have cultivated using the diligence deep within it to learn to play an instrument. In another instance, you may find that that personality, having learned how to play an instrument, now focuses on other. It may focus on how to observe the weather and plant its crops. So, one should not be comparing one to another. For, as one will find, there are some who, with minimum efforts, which efforts have been built in past earth lives, now manifest in this earth life that which had been cultivated to some extent. So it seems they're not making any effort, but that's not the case. They make a lot of effort, they started from somewhere. The same thing happens with other traits, like you yourself have stressed. So each human personality has the same virtues, the same talents implanted, but through their efforts, through their diligent effort, through their modesty, their grace, they are to cultivate that which should be of benefit to it here on earth or hereafter.
Thank you for this answer there, Gregory. Now I'm going to talk about, our seeking. How can we, how should we, we talked about talent just now, and let's say when parents bring up their children, they see, oh, the child is good in that, and they try to support the child in that direction, with their best ability there. So I'm thinking in seeking, we said we're learning a language of the knowledge of life, to learn the language of life. Now, how do we seek there, Gregory? Is it with our, you could say, intellectual understanding, learning in the school, and like that, or is it observing nature? Like the farmer, he doesn't need to go to a school necessarily to learn. I think there's an echo coming from me, so I'll just say it again, Gregory. How should we be seeking?
To seek means to use the facilities available to the human personality to learn and use the learning to mature. The facilities that are available for the human personality are that of the intellect and also that of the human. Once you have that the intuitive, providing the power for the intellect to follow, pointing to the direction that what needs to be done. Once the intellect is able to be guided along such lines, then it will be fulfillment upon fulfillment. It is in this fulfillment that the Spirit takes that which had been fulfilled and takes it as a lesson learned, which becomes useful to it here and to some extent hereafter. That is what is intended. A small picture is what you have in schools, in which when one arrives at the school, say at the primary level, there is the need to learn to construct sentences, to learn how things function. Of course, you do not expect that your parents will teach you everything. But when you go out of the home, you come across others and you have to learn from them. There's the giving and then there's the receiving. These are all parts of the learning process. So, if the human personality needs to mature, it must learn how to give and how to receive. How to give intuitively and subsequently receive intuitively. How to give intellectually and subsequently receive intellectually. And how, using both the intuition and the intellect, to interact with others whom, like him, are striving to also learn and come to maturity, to ensure that they do not form an obstacle for him and also for others.
Thank you again for this answer, Gregory. It reminded me, as soon as you started answering, the need for the law of balance. We've been given all these talents, the intellect, the intuition, our abilities. We've got to use all of them, but it must be in balance. You mentioned even earlier before that about, when I asked why we are going astray on the earth, and you mentioned their balance, and that I lost my thread suddenly, but obviously that is the key word there, that yes, we have been given all these talents and we must apply them and develop them, but there must always be balance in all that we do. Otherwise, I remember what you said before, there's this, you could say, danger of indolence, when if you don't use something, one particular part of your ability or talent, then you don't have that strength if you don't use it. So, and we need all of it. So thank you for this answer. I just want to remind listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL Message by Abdrusheen. And if you're interested in knowing more about the GRAIL Message or want to get a copy of the GRAIL Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is seeking and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. Seeking and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. You can by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, GRAIL Message, and then space the topic of the show tonight, which is seeking and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again. Gregory, it is said, one man's food is another man's poison. So what I'm wondering, I know we all have the same potential to develop, our skills and talents, and it's not like one person has an advantage over another. But does each person need to develop to the same level of knowledge and understanding in in the tasks and they undertake. Yeah, because some people become, let's say a particular trade. I'm sorry, there's a lot of echo. I hope you can hear me. So what I'm asking, Gregory, does each person have to have the same level of knowledge and understanding of life in regards to their tasks? Because some people will I'm not trying to put anybody down in any way, but some people, let's say, how can I say, a little bit like I said, some people become like a master in a particular trade, and others don't need to be, are not that. And why I'm saying that, Gregory, because let's say in life, we need a certain number of people in a particular type of work, and another, fewer people, let's say another level of work. So what I'm asking, does everybody need to develop to the max in their level of understanding and knowledge?
Not all people are at the same level of maturity in their experiences, or you find that there is no level playing field. This level playing field is not there because different people mature at different rates. And this depends on how they have gone about in using the free will which has been granted to each person alike. There are some who very, very diligently use their free will to acquire that which they need in their maturity. There are some who do it in a slower fashion. So one cannot put such conditions and say they must be on the same level. That has never been the case. What you have, even whilst here on it, there are various levels of maturity. What is key is that each personality must strive through diligence in the tasks which he himself or herself has recognized, to fulfill it in such a way that it will bring him or her benefits here or hereafter. So there are some who have a high level of wisdom. You do not wish to compare those to children who are just starting. There are some who have a high level of courage and selflessness. You cannot be comparing those to children who have just started, or to adults who are just striving along that direction. The same thing happens when you find that there are some who have learned to compose music so very well. You cannot compare those to those who are just starting. So most of the time, there must be on those who are striving diligently by supporting them in that which they have engaged themselves in. What normally happens? Those who do nothing spend all their time trying to criticize those who are striving to ensure that they live aright. And that being the case, they then weave some heavy karma for themselves, which they will have to live through here or hereafter. Unless, however, if they recognize that on time and strive away from such behaviors.
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory, and the picture you painted there. I'm now going to explore another area, which is, we have, the world is full of variety of people, as we know, and they have various opinions and beliefs and so on. And, the topic is seeking and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. So I want to look at this, let's say, understanding aright, because we do, as I say, have different views with peoples and groups of people and individuals. And I want to see what are the consequences of such a thing. So, for example, let's say majority of the world, let's say, follows or believes in science as being a way to explain things. And then there's things, let's say spiritual matters, where we talk about, for example, life after death, which science doesn't really know much about, let's say. And yet, Gregory, it is in these spiritual teachings and faiths. But then, there's no real evidence, if I can use that word, that people take it up, whether it's true or not true. So with regard to understanding the knowledge of life aright, how can, accept even a concept where there's no evidence, like life after death?
Thanks for this particular question. It must be understood that the premise which you yourself just made is in error. First, the premise of life and the premise of death. For it is assumed that what exists between the coming into being of a human person.
Just 1 second, Gregory. I'm just basically your voice goes in and out. It was happening all the time, actually. I just and I really I have asked one listener if they can hear you, and they're also seeing that your voice is fluctuating. And I know it's not you speaking like that. It's just somehow the broadcast is coming out that way. So if you can just start again, because I couldn't hear any word, if I'm honest with you. I couldn't actually hear hardly any word you were saying. So just about this life after death.
The case of life after death, the premise which had been used is in error. That which you refer to as life and that which you refer to as death. The premise being wrong indicates that that which has been viewed to exist from birth, and then at the end of death, that means that does not exist anymore, using the physical attributes. That means they are basing their arguments on the physical attributes which they are able to use using their 5 senses. The question which were not asked, what is it that initiated What is it that initiated that span of existence? In our discussion, one mentioned that motion is a law in creation. Motion in the sense that power animates motion. And that power does not act in an arbitrary manner. And that power acts on substantiality. That power, one referred to as a spark. It was that spark that initiated the formation of the physical body in the womb of the woman, such that that body which you see with the five senses, which five senses have come into existence through the lawfulness, through the laws of creation, granted to this spark within the period of existence on earth, such that it's able to perceive physically. That is where all the assumptions are made. The spark itself is not considered. So, ever before the physical body came into existence, that spark was there. When the physical body dissolves, that spark is also there. It is that spark which is of spirit, which exists. For, like has been stressed again and again, life in which dimension of power, dimension of the lawfulness, dimension of the radiations, of substantiality. Substantiality and the lawfulness, when it's been animated by the power here on earth, you see the human being in flesh and blood. Once the spark, which is the power, moves out, then that spark goes further. That spark still exists. Science itself acknowledges this. For in science, based on what they have observed, that spark which one is referring to is energy. For in science, in all clearness, it is said energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but can be transformed from one state to another. Then you ask yourself, if energy cannot be created, it means it's already there. It has always been there. It has always existed. So the challenge has been the error which has come into the whole concept because of the limitation man has placed on himself. When intuition is mentioned, that intuition is not in the physical body. That intuition is a motion which had been triggered by that spark which is of spirit. Now, since that spark is not the physical body, that spark does not die. So, how can one then say there is no evidence? What has no evidence is the limitation which man has placed on itself. For there is absolutely no reason why many may reason that particular way. For science itself is a product put together by the intellect to comprehend that which is earthly. But that which is beyond earthly, science lacks the understanding. And that is very correct. For science only works through models. It builds models. It builds models to manifest or to represent a form of representation of what energy does, which energy is referred to as that spark.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for that answer and explanation. What becomes clear is that, it's like you must use the right tools to examine a particular, subject. And if, when you don't know what you're looking at, you start, let's say, coming to wrong conclusions, or don't use the tools correctly, So here again, you pointed out that yes, there's the intellect or science, and then there's the spiritual tool or gift of the intuition, and they need to work together if you're going to get the right answers here. So about life after death in this case. So thank you for that. Now, Gregory, in the GRAIL message, it declares belief must become conviction. And we just had like an example of that just now in that last question. So how do we achieve this? How does belief become conviction?
Belief can only become through inflexible weighing and examining. Weighing already gives the impression of gravitation, heaviness. Examining already gives the impression of the law of nature, in which you have the assemblage, the attraction of homogeneity, the assemblage of types before comparison. That is part of examination, in which the process of examination, of motion, which motion we had all mentioned is a law in creation, in which the end flows back to the beginning. That is examination. The examination which manifests itself as the comparison, the assemblages of types, of the attraction of homogeneity. Again, that's examination which talks about the end flowing back to the beginning. That is another law in creation. And finally, that of weighing, which deals with one being heavier than the other or one being lighter than the other. That is part of gravitation,
So these are the framework. These are the reference framework through which, when one puts every process, when one looks into any process, this shows the how and the why, just as we had discussed at the beginning of our discussion.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Another statement in the GRAIL message is that spiritual life is real life. And it made me wonder, does it mean that we need to enter, because this world is the material world that we live in on earth, so does it mean, Gregory, we can really only experience real life in the beyond and not on the earth?
One can question that statement when it becomes very clear that life on earth is only a short period. All right, between birth and death. Like we had discussed earlier, that spark existed before birth on earth and after death on earth. So that which persists, the changes which has happened here on earth, that which is able to collate and make use of these experiences, that is the real kernel. So that is the reality. Whereas the physical body is only a tool. The tool is not the reality, but the spark itself.
Thank you for this, Gregory. We've come to the end of our show tonight, listeners. Hope you enjoyed the discussion on seeking and understanding aright, the knowledge of life. And as you know, I'd like to end the show with the reading from the foreword of the GRAIL message, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such come the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not intend it as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his